This Beef Market Update podcast is brought to you by Brett Young. You treat them like family, feed them like family. Talk to your retailer about Brett Young's forage and corn options for a happy, healthy herd or visit brettyoung.ca.
It's time now for the Beef Market Update with Ann Wasko, the Gateway Livestock Exchange. Ann, how are we doing?
I am good, Shaun. How are you there?
Hey, pretty good. Okay, let's talk about how about the cash cattle markets? What's going on this week?
Well, no big surprise. We saw the markets lower last week, and the feeling really was that would continue this week, and it has. So in the south, we had sales in Kansas, $2 lower, 197. Nebraska was $1 lower live at 198. On the dressed market, 313. That's down 2. So as expected, but markets have come off the last 2 to 3 weeks now from those highs back in early February. Not a surprise as well, the wholesale market under a bit of pressure, although I think, Shaun, I would say that it may be finding some stability this week. It was down $1.50 from last week, $311.20. The select's back about $9. All those things kind of fit with the seasonals for the end of February. So if this is true, then we should start to see some stability in that cutout, start to find some improvement there. That doesn't necessarily mean improvement to cattle prices, but start to see some improvement to this cutout price. Of course, as we know, the Packers, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, are in the red, so they've cut their kills, and that's kind of how the playbook goes at this point in time. You cut the kill, try to support the cutout, and that's still what's going on today. In Alberta, same story. Fed cattle market down $2 dressed this week. So the market was $458 to $460. That's delivered dressed as well. And again, kind of fitting that whole scenario in terms of February seasonality and slower movement on the meat side. I did want to make one comment about carcass weights between the two countries because this is kind of interesting. So last week, for example, our Canadian steer carcass weight was 945 pounds. We're actually down 25 pounds from this week last year.
Wow.
And I talked about this 2 weeks ago. The industry's current, and I'll talk about why I think the industry in Western Canada and Canada is very current. On the flip side, in the U.S. right now, steer carcass weights are 954. It's not often they run heavier than Alberta, or the other way around. It's not often Alberta runs lower than the U.S. But the U.S. weights today are 40 pounds heavier than last year. So recap, Canadian weights down 25, American weights up 40 pounds from the same time last year. So ratchet back, last year, Canadian weights were 970 on steers today, and the U.S. weights were 914. So big difference. I think what's going on in Western Canada is a couple of things. First of all, we've had excellent prices, record prices. Profitable cattle, guys are making money, so you sell cattle. And of course, the looming tariff piece has got cattle feeders selling cattle very, very much on or ahead of schedule, and it's showing up in the data. So big incentive to sell in Western Canada, and that even kind of fits the feeder market today too.
Yeah, feeder market hot.
Very hot, yeah. So again, then we saw that all through January, and that has continued through February. Markets have been very strong. So we'll see now as we head into March and tariff impact and how things roll from here. But we have seen a pile of cattle move. We've seen at record prices, so it hasn't had any negative impact on pricing in terms of that feeder market. The big report that came out this week that we can talk about is that January 1 StatsCan cattle inventory report. The headline story is going to be the same old. Very much like the U.S. report, numbers continue to get chipped away. Smaller overall cattle numbers, smaller beef cow herd, all the way down through all of the categories, really. So just kind of in a nutshell, Shaun, total cattle numbers down 1%. Nationally, we're at 10.9 million head. Beef cows nationally, we're down 1%, 3.38 million. That's the smallest since 1989 for Canada. Dairy cow numbers unchanged. And again, they've been flat all through this as the beef herds come down. Dairy cow numbers are 962,000 head, so just a bit under 1 million, and they've been there for some time. A couple of interesting points by province. Alberta, we saw beef cow numbers down 2%. They were just under 1.5 million head, and we have not been there since 1990 in Alberta. So that tells you what's going on in the biggest province. And those numbers are 44% of the national beef cow herd. So Alberta still is the driver in terms of where the cow herd is located, but you can see what's gone on with numbers over time. I'll go through some of the other provinces quickly. Saskatchewan, numbers down 1% there. They hold 29% of the national cow herd. Beef cow herd, Manitoba was down 2%. They hold 11% of the herd. BC was down 2% and hold 5%. So take all of Western Canada, it's 89% of the national beef cow herd. Flip it over. Ontario East holds 76% of the Canadian dairy cow herd. So again, those aren't any changes, Shaun. That's been our structure over time. This report didn't show us any differences, albeit we're all kind of down at smaller numbers.
And to change it, it takes time.
Well, it takes time and it takes heifers, and this report didn't show us that. Like the U.S. report, it showed us kind of the same kind of numbers in terms of beef replacement heifers as we saw a year ago, but no big change. So no signs of any significant change in terms of retention. And those on the ground in Canada have seen that. I mean, we've got such strong feeder cattle prices. It's a big draw for heifers to still move into that feeder market.
And thanks for joining us this week for the Beef Market Update. Have yourself a great weekend, and let the good times roll for the beef industry. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, thanks, Shaun.
Thank you for downloading this episode of the Beef Market Update, brought to you by Brett Young. Check out their silage and grazing corn stock blends, or custom build your own mix for a happy, healthy herd. Talk to your retailer or visit brettyoung.ca today.